Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ketemu lagi dengan saya, Habibullah Ahmad. This time we try to listen to the explanations of Syeikh Hamzah Yusuf from the United States of America. He's the owner of Ayatuna, I think, yeah. And this time he got some accusations from some people because he joined the organization to the commissions of Trumps, and he tried to explain about the difference between politicians and also the administration, the government and the administration, which ones are the politicians are politics, that's because of the politics, and which ones that the government and the administration. Okay, now we try to listen the explanations of Sheikh Hamzah Yusuf.
It's really important to remember that Trump is not the government. He is the head of the administration. And our system differentiates between the government and the administration. This man was a political appointee, meaning that the administration appointed him for a temporary position. The civil servants are there all the time. They're a different kettle of fish. And so if we don't understand, even the commission, like people, like I joined the Trump, give me a break. Seriously. This commission is an independent body of academics. It is literally illegal by federal law for the State Department to put any pressure on this committee to come up with what they want. Marianne Glendon, who's the head of the commission, I gave her the Renovatio Journal when I met her. We had a very nice conversation. I've actually read one of her books. I had it in my library before I met her. Rights Talk. She wrote in '91. But I gave her the journal, and in there I had written an article called Medina and Athena, Restoring a Lost Legacy. And it was about the influence that Greek thought had on the Muslim community, and then how a lot of that was transmitted back to Europe. She wrote me, and I took permission from her to actually quote her on this, because I told her our Prophet ﷺ said that correspondences and private conversations are sacred trusts. You shouldn't actually quote a person in private conversation unless they allow you. So I asked her if I could quote her on this, and she said, by all means. She wrote me an email, and she said, first of all, I want to really thank you for accepting to be part of this, but secondly, I want to let you know you've already influenced me. I teach a course at Harvard Law called The Origins of Legal Theory in the West. And from now on, that course will have a component of, it's now going to be Athens, Jerusalem, and Medina. And that's at Harvard University, where these young people who might never hear something like that, like what's the influence of Muslims on Western law? People don't know that Napoleonic law, which is one of the most important elements of statute law, even in the United States, and Louisiana still uses Napoleonic code, that Napoleonic law was heavily influenced by Maliki fiqh. And Napoleon had all of those books translated into French. So these are the things that I want people to see, that we are a civilization that's had an incredible impact, and we're a civilization of producers, that the stars are ours, the navigational stars have Arabic names, the heavens belong to us. We name those stars, our community. The numerals that people add and subtract and multiply by are ours. They're not Indian, they are Arabic. They like to put Hindi Arabic, but the ones we use are not the Indian ones. They're the North African ones that were developed by Muslims to show the angles. So we have had a huge impact on Western civilization. And this civilization, the beauty of being indebted is that you actually, good people feel a sense of, that they should be grateful. And then bad people, it just makes them angry. I mean, it's a question and it's an ijtihad. Yeah. Engagement, the Prophet gave people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the option to disengage or to engage. That's an option for people. Right. So this idea that everybody has to be engaged, I don't agree with that. And the, Plato, who was a great philosopher and political scientist, he ended up engaging. He didn't want, like you said in your speech, you thought, am I just going to write another book? Plato thought, am I just going to write another dialogue? Mm-hmm. So he went to Syracuse. He almost ended up getting killed because the ruler there Dionysus, ended up almost killing him. And then he convinced him to come back. And he made the mistake of going back a second time. It was even worse. And he actually ended up being sold into slavery, right? So at the end of his life, he wrote what's called the seventh letter, and he said sometimes the situations are so bad that one is left to remain quiet, pray for his own salvation and for the salvation of his country. And that's a question, you know, but the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you are those who engage, man khalat an-nas, you know, that get in with the people, وَيَصْبِرُ عَلَى أَذَاهُمْ, and they're patient with the harm that comes from that. And so it's difficult to do that because people are going to attack you and people are going to question your sincerity. I mean, all of that is good. I've had enough encomiums to last 10 lifetimes. So I'm gray hair, I'm over 60. I could care less now. I really could but if people think I'm going to risk my akhirah, you know, I don't get any money from I've never taken any money. The honorariums I've been given from the governments, I've distributed, you know, so I know what I'm doing and I know what my heart is, and I take istikhara, I listen to my teacher and I pray istikhara. I don't do anything just to do it. So I think people have to do an ijtihad. But the last thing I want to say is that every action that a human being does falls under one of 5 categories. It's either prohibited, it's either disliked, it's permissible, it's recommended, or it's an obligation. The only one you're supposed to condemn is the one that's prohibited and agreed upon its prohibition. And so this idea of just prohibiting, like, who are you to tell people what they can or cannot do? If you want to criticize that, fine, but at least if you're a Muslim, do it with the adab of Islam. Right. I mean, we have comportment and just... The Prophet gave us 2 choices, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever believes in God in the last day, speak good, say something beneficial, call me up, tell me you're crazy, what were you thinking, right? But this idea of just slandering and attacking and saying libelous things, I mean, I feel sorry for you on the day of judgment.
Okay, thank you so much for watching this